Muse for you, awesome websites without code.
Hey, what's up Musers? John with Muse for you, here to help you build awesome websites without code, and welcome to the weekly update for the week of February 26th through March 4th. So I've worked on 3 things this week. The first one is the Fantastic 74 update. I created a quick tip on the PhotoMashcom website, and I'll leave a link to that in the Show More section below. And I also released the Parallax tilt effect widget, which I'll showcase in this video. So I'll go ahead and go over the first one, which is the Fantastic 74 update, and I'll read the changelog. So here I'll go to museforyoushop.com, and here you can click subscribe today, and here you can click subscribe now to get access to all widgets and templates I come out with for $39 a year. I'll scroll down to the Fantastic 74 widget, which is right down here. So it's Fantastic 74 animation effects. So it's similar to the update that I did for the animator widget. This widget is really similar to the animator. It just has less animations. So I'll go ahead and read the changelog here. So I added 2 new animations, the head shake and the jack in the box. There's a new on-scroll setup. The on-scroll animations with the same graphic style name will now animate individually when scrolled to. The issue with elements not animating on scroll across breakpoints has been fixed. The widget now uses CDN technology to help your website load faster. There's performance improvements within the widget, and there's updated code within the widget. All right, so that's the Fantastic 74 widget. It can be found at museforyoushop.com. Here's a quick video. It kind of goes over, applying graphic style names and applying the animation. So I won't go too into detail in this video on how to use, but there are quite a few videos on how to use the Fantastic 74 widget, and there's also a quick start within the widget folder. All right, so that can be purchased individually. I'll go back real quick. So if, to purchase individually, you can click add to cart, or again, you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and templates I come out with for $39 a year. All right, so that was number 1. Number 2 was the photomash.com website. So if you go to photomash.com, it's just a really cool website to kind of create really interesting GIF images. I'll leave the link to the quick tip in the show more section below. But yeah, you can just create really interesting GIFs or WebM files and place them into Adobe Muse. The GIF images are a bit large, so you'll just want to kind of pay attention to that because you don't want your website to have really large GIFs. But WebM works as well. WebM files are a little bit smaller, and you can use the complete video widget to apply those to the website. All right, so yeah, you can save it as JPEG, GIF, or WebM. You have all these options here to kind of, customize the image to your liking, or you can click Mosh and just have these really interesting effects. I really like this website. It's very cool. So I could save it as JPEG and just apply it to the site. Just click save, or GIF, record, WebM, and record. All right, so that's it for PhotoMash. The complete video tutorial is in the show more section below. I kind of go over how to how to play the GIF on hover. So it's just an image originally, and then when the user hovers over the image, the GIF plays. So if you want to know how to do that, it's in the show more section below. All right, so the last thing I'll go over is the new widget, the Parallax tilt effect. So here is the widget. Here you can click add to cart to purchase individually, or again, you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and templates for $39 a year. The features included, and the community section if you had any questions about the widget, and a few of the widget options. So I'll go ahead and click on preview, and it's just a really fun effect. I really like this widget. Here we have the tilt effect. I'm just hovering over the image, and we see that this mark here is kind of popping out as well. So you can have images on top of it to create this 3D effect. Here I have a few other images, and you can just really customize the effect. You can use it with gradients. So we have some nice gradients. You can add a glare or remove the glare, and it's just really customizable. So I'll go back to the shop, I'll read the features included, and then I'll do a quick demonstration on how to use the widget. So the features included, you can tilt elements on hover, you can apply the tilt to multiple elements on the site, you can set the tilt amount, you can have inner elements above the main tilting element for a 3D parallax effect, you can disable the X or Y axis for a custom tilt, you can enable or disable the glare over the element, you can set the glare amount, you can set the enter and exit speed for the tilt, you can set enter and exit easing, you can reset the tilt on hover, and you can disable the tilt at a specific breakpoint. So this effect is for desktop and laptop computers with mouse or trackpad input, because you do need to be able to hover over the element with the mouse. All right, looks good. So on tablet and mobile devices that don't have that type of input, it'll just be the fixed image and it won't tilt. All right, so I'll go into Muse. I have a site here set up to showcase the widget. So I'll just create a quick element. So here to the left, I'll click on the rectangle tool, create a rectangle just like this, and I'll go to fill right up here, click on fill, click on add image, and I'll just add an image in there. And for the fitting, I'll say scale to fill and position in the center. All right, so I'm going to create that similar effect that's on the preview page. So there we have the element. So now I'll bring in the Parallax Tilt Effect widget. So here I'll go to the library panel here to the right. So here I'll click on the library panel, or library. I don't pronounce the R as much, but yeah, I'll open the library panel. And if you don't see the library panel, you can go to Window and click on Library. All right, looks good. So here I'll type in Parallax Tilt Effect. All right, so here are the three widgets. We have the Add First widget, we have the main element, Parallax Tilt Effect main element, and Parallax Tilt Effect inner elements. So here I'll click, hold, and drag the Add First. So you want to place the Add First widget at the top of the page, and I'll just place it here off the page and at the top. All right, so now I'll bring in the Parallax Tilt Effect main element. So I'll click, hold, and drag, place into Adobe Muse, and there we go. So here we have the graphic style name, it's tilt1. So I want to apply that graphic style name to the element. So, and I'll go over these other widget options in a second. So here I'll click on this image here, this rectangle that's filled with an image, and I'll go to the graphic styles panel here to the right. And if you don't see the graphic styles panel, you can go to Window and click on Graphic Styles. All right, looks good. So here with the element selected, I'll click on this icon here. It looks like a piece of paper with a folded corner in the bottom left. So I'll click there. It creates a new graphic style called Style. So I'll double click. It opens the graphic style options dialog box. And here I'm going to rename it to Tilt1 because that's the graphic style name that's in the widget. And that's it. So we've already applied the tilt to this element with these default options. So if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, it'll open up in my default browser here. And as we can see, we have that tilt to that element. Looks good. So if I wanted to apply a glare to it, I could just open the widget options and select Enable Glare. And I could set the glare amount. So you can set it between 0 and 1. 1 is the maximum glare. And I'll go ahead and preview. And we have a nice glare effect to the element. All right, so let's play with the widget options a bit. Let me just go in here. You can set a max tilt. The higher this element, the more tilt. The higher this option, the more tilt. So I'll go ahead and preview. And we can see we have a lot more tilt. We can change the perspective. So I do leave notes in the widget options on how to use. So, you know, everything I'm covering in this tutorial is right here in the how to use section. So with the perspective, if we set this to a lower amount right in here, it'll have more perspective, meaning it'll like pop out more. So let's go ahead and preview that. And so we can see it's kind of popping out a little bit more. I like to leave it around 1000 because it has a really nice effect around 1000. You don't want the image to kind of wobble off the screen and not look good. So I like to leave it at 1000 here. So yeah, you can play with that and kind of, you know, get the effect you're looking for, but 1000 has a nice effect. And then working with the max tilt really allows you to kind of work with the flexibility of the tilt. So if I set it to like 60, we have a nice tilt there. Looks good. It's kind of like really moving. All right, so you can play with those and just, get the desired tilt. So I'll leave the options just like that. You can have a really nice scale effect. So 1 is no scale. If I were to say like 1.5, it'd be like 150% scale. And we'd see it get quite larger. So there we go, gets really large. I'm gonna set it to 1.1 right in here. And I'm gonna set the tilt a little bit lower to about 40. Okay, you can disable the axis. So if you disable the Y axis, it won't move across the Y axis. So it just moves on the X, just like that. So we can see it moves up and down. If I were to disable the X and I preview, it'll just move left and right on the Y axis. All right, so you can really customize that and get a really cool effect. You could change the image on hover with the Adobe Muse states panel. So I could like click on the rollover state here in the states panel and just change the image, and that can make for a really interesting effect as well. So I could change it to something like this, and you could just have some really interesting animations with that. I could just, set the transition to fade, make it a bit smoother. So yeah, it looks really cool. Yeah, depending on the images you add, you can get some really interesting effects there. So I'll just leave it on this image for now. That was just showing kind of changing the image on rollover state with the states panel right up here. So if you click on rollover, you can change the image for the rollover state by going to the fill option and changing the image. All right, looks good. So I'll go to the other option. So I went over the max glare. So the enter and exit is how quick you want the element, if it has a scale, how quick you want it to kind of pop in. And when you mouse off the element, how quickly you want it to return to its original state. So if I were to set this to like 2 seconds, we're gonna notice quite a difference with how it animates in. So if I hover, we see it's really slow to come in, and then I can play with it. And if I mouse out, it's a bit slower to go back to its original state. All right, so that just depends on the effect that you're going for your site. I like a quicker effect. And here we have quite a few different easing options for how you want it to come in and then go back to its original state. I find that the ease out options work really well. So I like ease out back. So I'll leave it to ease out back right there. You can set reset on exit or disable it here. So if I were to disable it by unchecking this option here, reset on exit, and I preview, and I hover my mouse over the element, we can see it doesn't go back to its original state. It just stays in that tilt position. All right, so that can make for a really interesting effect as well. Just having that, just not having it reset when you mouse off the element. Okay, so that's disabling the reset on exit. I like to have it go back to its original position, so I'm going to set it to reset on exit. And then we have the breakpoint option here, so you can disable it at a specific breakpoint. So here you can set the breakpoint value. So I'll disable it at the 480 breakpoint. You could not have it disabled because on devices that don't have user input or like a mouse or a trackpad, it'll be disabled anyway. But if you did want it to disable it for smaller screens for a particular reason, you could disable it at a specific breakpoint. So I'll go ahead and preview. So we can see it works here because it's above the 480 breakpoint. But if I resize and then refresh the browser, we can see that on the 480 breakpoint, it's not going to have the tilt effect. So if a user were to load the site at the 480 breakpoint, the effect wouldn't take place. Not that that would happen too much, I don't think. I don't think a user browsing on their computer would have their window this size. I mean, you could disable it at the 768 breakpoint. And if I were to preview and refresh, we're still above the 768. There we're below the 768. So there it's disabled. If I were to view the site on a larger breakpoint, we have the effect enabled. So that is an option there. But again, on devices that don't have the mouse or trackpad input, it'll be disabled automatically. All right, so I'm just gonna uncheck that there. And then we have the how to use section that basically goes over everything I just went over in the last few minutes with all the widget options and adding the add first and setting the options here. All right, so let's say you wanted to have an element on top of the tilt effect and have that 3D effect that I created for the preview page. So I'll go ahead and showcase that. I have a monogram kit here that I downloaded from pixelbuddha.net. So I'm just going to open the Adobe Illustrator file, and there's a few monograms here. I'm not going to add the fonts there, but I'll add this outdoor hiking monogram. And let me just move this over a bit. So I'll just move it there so it kind of fits within the monogram. I don't think the font's downloaded for this one, but that's okay. We'll just move it a little bit there. And I'm going to change it to white. So here, I'll just click the drop down, select white. So it's all white. Then I'll select all of this, copy it, go back into Muse and hit Command V to paste. And I'll click OK. And there we have the image. So I'll place it right above it. So this is what's called an inner element. This back here is the main element, and we're adding an inner element. So with inner elements, you want to place the inner element widget. So here I'll go to the library panel here to the right. And here again, I'll type in Parallax tilt effect. And now we have the Parallax tilt effect inner elements. So here I'll click, hold, and drag, place into Adobe Muse. And here we see we have the graphic style name for the inner elements and the translate Z option. So the higher the translate Z option, the more 3D the element will appear, and inner elements must be on top of the main element, just like we did here. Okay, so here I'll click on this element, I'll go to the graphic styles panel, create a new graphic style, double click on style, and I'll rename this to inner 1. So just like that, inner 1, that's the name of the graphic style name in the inner elements widget. And that's all we have to do. So now I'll go ahead and preview. And we can see that this element is popping out a bit from the background. If I were to set the translate Z to much higher, we'll see what happens. So I set it to 100. So it's gonna have a more pop out effect. That element's gonna look, yeah, like it's popping out more. So there we go, we hover, and it really looks like it's really popping out in that 3D effect. It has more of a 3D effect there. You could place more elements on it. So I could just place like a few elements here. Just give it the graphic style name inner 1, and you might have to reapply the attributes. So I'll copy and paste. And as long as the inner elements are on top of the main element and have the graphic style name that's in the inner element widget, which is inner 1, they'll have that effect, the 3D effect. So as we can see, they pop out and it looks really nice. All right, so that's basically it. That's the Parallax tilt effect widget. It can make for a really fun website and add another dimension to your website, or yeah, make your website more dynamic and really interesting for the user to interact with. And one more thing I want to showcase really quick. You can add a GIF in the background. So like if you decided to use the PhotoMashcom website, you can add a GIF. And let me add a different one here. I have a few GIFs. So yeah, we'll use that rain one, and it's a GIF. I just kind of applied an interesting mosh to it, and it just moves a bit in the background. And when I hover over, we have the parallax tilt effect. You could actually apply the parallax tilt effect to anything. It works really well with the swiper.js slideshow. So if you wanted your slideshow to have a tilt, you could apply it to the slideshow as well. Yeah, so that's basically it. To gain access to the Parallax Tilt Effect widget, you can go to museforyoushop.com, and here you can click subscribe today, and here you can click subscribe now to get access to all widgets and templates I come out with for $39 a year. Here we have the Parallax Tilt Effect, and here you can click add to cart to purchase individually, or again you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and templates I come out with for $39 a year. Here are the features included, a few of the widget options, and the community section if you had any questions about the widget. This video will be right here as well, because I did go over the widget quite in depth in this video, so you can watch the video from here in this section as well. All right, so that's it for this weekly update. I'll go back to the presentation. So this week, I've updated the Fantastic 74 widget. It is now Fantastic 74 widget 1.3. I created a quick tip using the PhotoMashcom website. I'll leave a link in the Show More section below. And I released the Parallax tilt effect widget that can be found at museforyoushop.com. The Fantastic 74 widget can also be found at museforyoushop.com. So that's it for this video tutorial. Again, I do this to help you build awesome websites without code. If you like this video tutorial, you can subscribe below. Also in the Show More section below are links to other resources and links to museforyoushop.com. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.
Muse for You, awesome websites without code.